On a day steeped in history, the remnants of a once great empire linger in the shadows. What if one of the biggest lies in history is not that Rome fell, but that the world forgot how to recognize its survival? The empire we call Byzantine never considered itself as such. For them, it was simply Rome enduring. Most recount the tale of Rome as one of fire, ruin, and silence. The Western Empire collapses, the old world breaks apart. It seems to be the end. Yet some endings are merely transformations, moments when history shifts its shape, waiting for the world to acknowledge its new face. An empire, resilient and unyielding, survives long after the fall most remember. With emperors, laws, and grand ceremonies, it bore the heavy memory of a civilization that refused to vanish. We label it the Byzantine Empire, but its people would have chosen differently. They did not see themselves as living after Rome, they believed they were Rome. Once this thought settles in, history begins to feel less stable, more haunting than previously taught. To comprehend how this forgotten survival became possible, we must revisit the moment when Rome began its subtle transformation. The empire had grown too vast and uneven, demanding a reconfiguration of its center. Power still bore the name of Rome, yet the balance within the empire was shifting. The eastern provinces thrived, richer and more urban, deeply entwined with the currents of trade. Their cities pulsed with life, their ports thrived, and their connections to wider commercial networks flourished. Meanwhile, the West grew harder to defend, while the East held resources, administration, and strategic depth. Then Constantinople rose, marking a pivotal turning point in history. More than a new capital, it served as a new center of gravity. Nestled between Europe and Asia, shielded by water, and positioned at the crossroads of commerce, diplomacy, and warfare, Constantinople did not merely inherit imperial power. It bestowed that power a vibrant new form. From this vantage point, the empire could oversee the flow of goods, armies, and ideas, governing a world in flux with a vigilance the old Western heart could no longer maintain. Thus, when the western half of the empire faltered and ultimately disintegrated, the eastern half stood resolute. This is where the misunderstanding begins. We often speak as if Rome died and something else arose later. But for those living through it, Rome had merely shifted its political heart, evolving into a new shape. The deeper question arose: if this empire transformed in language, religion, and culture, why did its people still identify as Roman? The answer lies beyond mere appearance. To later generations, this empire could seem distanced from the Rome of popular memory. Greek had gained prominence, and Christianity significantly influenced its moral and political imagination. Courtly life and the ambience of power had shifted from the realm of senators and generals. Yet, identity is not always defined by the surface. What mattered most was continuity. Its rulers claimed Roman imperial authority, and the state upheld the weight of Roman law and legitimacy. The emperor was seen not as the leader of a civilization that had replaced Rome, but as the ruler of Rome itself, navigating a changed era while rooted in an unbroken tradition. Modern interpretations often miss this vital point. The people we label as Byzantines did not perceive themselves as standing after Rome, gazing back at it. They believed Rome lived through them. The forms changed, yet the claim endured. The language of empire transformed, and the spiritual center deepened, but they still understood themselves as Roman in their essence. Once this deeper Roman identity is comprehended, another question emerges. How did this Eastern empire persist for centuries while its Western counterpart crumbled? Geography offers one answer. Constantinople was not just a splendid capital. It was a fortress built for endurance, protected by water and strategically located. Its advantages surpassed those of many Western centers that had lost their strength. Geography did not ensure safety, but it granted the empire precious time. And in history, time can be everything. Another answer emerges in institutional continuity. While the Western world fragmented into smaller, unstable political units, the Eastern Empire maintained a robust administrative structure. It could tax, govern, organize, negotiate, and command authority, holding a functioning state that proved crucial. Empires do not survive solely on battlefield valor. They endure when they manage power, resources, and obligations over time. Yet, the most profound reason for Byzantium's longevity may lie in its adaptability. Byzantium thrived because it learned to navigate a perilous world without demanding perfection. It fought when necessary, bargained when required, and accepted temporary weakness to safeguard the future. Survival was not always glorious. It often required compromise, recalibration, or retreat. But this flexibility was not a weakness. It was a testament to discipline. What made Byzantium extraordinary was not its unyielding stance, but its ability to bend without disappearing. Yet, prolonged survival came with a slow and heavy cost. The narrative grows weightier as the decline of Byzantium unfolds, revealing a deeply human story. It was not a sudden collapse of a weak state, but the gradual erosion of a civilization that had already endured more than most empires. Pressure came from multiple fronts. Wars, internal rivalries, territorial losses, economic strains, and the exhausting toll of defending a shrinking realm burdened by a vast memory. This decline feels tragic. Byzantium was not merely losing power. It carried the weight of its past while the ground beneath it narrowed. Moments of recovery, even brilliance, would emerge, showcasing the empire's vitality. Yet, these moments could not erase the overarching past. What had once been expansive became delicate. Confidence shifted to a more defensive posture. The empire remained intelligent, disciplined, and historically aware. Yet, awareness can sting painfully when a civilization knows precisely what it stands to lose. Ultimately, the final blow fell. Constantinople fell. This simple sentence belies a complex meaning. The fall of the city signified not just the loss of a capital, but the end of the last political entity that embodied the Roman imperial claim as a living reality. A line stretching across centuries, linking the ancient world. What vanished was not merely a regime, it was a continuity. Even after this collapse, a puzzling question lingered. Why did future generations recall Rome so vividly yet fail to recognize Byzantium as part of its enduring legacy? Part of the answer lies in the nature of historical memory, which favors simplicity. People are drawn to narratives with clear endings. Rome rises, Rome falls, and the story concludes. Yet Byzantium disrupts this narrative. It reveals that an empire can persist beyond the ending we assumed final. This continuity defies neat storytelling, lingering ambiguously. Names wielded immense power, too. Once later ages affixed the label Byzantine to this empire, they created a distance from Rome. The label helped structure history, but also encouraged separation, making it easier to perceive this Eastern Empire as something distinct, even though its rulers and citizens saw themselves otherwise. Thus, Byzantium slipped strangely through public memory. It remained close enough to Rome to inherit its burdens, yet unfamiliar in language, religion, and atmosphere, leading to confusion among later observers. The issue was not that the empire had forgotten Rome, but that later generations struggled to recognize it in a different form. Perhaps this is why the Byzantine Empire resonates long after the facts fade. It was not merely a state. It served as a reminder that identity can survive transformation. Continuity can hide within change, and what the world forgets is not always what has truly vanished. For centuries, this empire bore the memory of Rome through a different language, spiritual atmosphere, and political world. To outsiders, it appeared unfamiliar. Yet to its inhabitants, this new form was not evidence of death, it was proof of survival. This lesson extends beyond history. In life, people change, families change, dreams change, even the versions of ourselves we once knew can seem distant. Change does not always signify loss. Sometimes, it embodies endurance in a new guise. The strongest part of a person may not be the ability to remain unchanged, but the capacity to carry their deepest values through adversity, time, and transformation. Perhaps the lesson of Byzantium is this: do not assume something has ended simply because it has altered its voice, shape, or place in the world. Some of the most vital aspects of life survive quietly beneath new forms, awaiting recognition. What truly matters in life? Is it remaining the same, or is it learning to change without losing your essence?